Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Слава нації!
Смерть ворогам!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Героям України тричі!
Смерть!
Ворогам України тричі!
Смерть! Смерть! Смерть!
My friends, I'd like to make an announcement. For the 2nd of August at 1 p.m. near, in front in fact, of the Iranian embassy in London, SW71PP. There's going to be a protest against Iranian Shahid drones in Ukraine. I repeat once again, in fact, let me say that again, for our Ukrainian speakers. Друзі, 2 числа наступного місяця буде протест в суботу, взагалі, цього тижня в суботу, перед іранським посольством SW71PP. Це постер. Будемо протестувати проти Ірану, тому що, як ми всі знаємо, іранський режим повністю на боці московського режиму. Це всім треба знати і пам'ятати. Назавжди, друзі. Цю суботу, першій годині. Не забувайте. My friends, we have had many joint rallies with our friends from Iran. We believe it's very important for everyone to know that despite the fact that the current Iranian regime is a terrorist regime that does not put under question the rich and long history that Iran has had as a country. I myself, I am a fan of the Achaemenid Empire and their achievements back in the day. It can be said that it was one of the first empires, one of the first large entities. And it wasn't a bad empire either. It did not have slavery, which is not something we can say about the vast majority of empires, of people in the history of mankind. Now, my friends, I digress. It is very important for us to show complete and utter opposition against the terrorist Ayatollah regime in Iran. For they were the ones who provided Russia with the now infamous Shahid drone. Let's not delve into delusion, my friends. Even if Iran fell as a country today, that would not mean Russia has no Shahid drones anymore. Russia has now localized the production of Shahid drones within their borders. So they don't actually need Iran to provide them with the vast majority of Shahid drones. That's not what we're claiming. However, Iran still helps Russia on many fronts. One of them is political. It's very important to realize that Iran has given a lot of help for Russia, and there need to be consequences for such action. It's a pity that the regime in Iran did not change when it could have. It's a pity that the myriad of protests against the terrorist Iranian regime have not had the results intended. However, we have not been blind to the monumental effort of the Iranian people in opposing their terrorist Ayatollah regime. Because they, my friends, they were getting killed on the streets. They were getting shot by the terrorist IRGC left, right, and center. What kind of protests were there in Russia? Did the Russians bleed even 1/10 of what the Iranians bled for their freedom? Never. The Russians are perfectly happy to simply sit aside and allow their government to perpetrate whatever atrocities they want. But the Iranians, they have spoken out. And that's one of the reasons why we're going to protest against the current regime that oppresses their people, that denies their culture, that denies their history. It's very important, my friends, for the Ayatollahs to be out of power in Iran, for the Kim family to be out of power in North Korea, and most importantly of all, for Putin and his troops to be out of power in Russia. For Russia to have a complete change of government. That should be the goal of the free world. To make sure that the country-sized criminal syndicate of Moscow, that the great Khanate with Putin at the top, is finally toppled down and is no more ever in the future. That is the best case scenario for the world. Not just for Ukraine, not just for the UK, not just for the free world, but even for Russia itself. Unless, of course, there are some geniuses who think that being sent to the front line as meat, in one of these meat ways that Russia loves to do, is something good for your average Russian. I personally believe it is not. However, agree to disagree, I guess. We always welcome differing opinions here. Now, my friends, I'd like to share with you one of the sayings, one of the things we used to say with our Iranian friends to condemn the terrorist IRGC. IRGC's terrorists, UK put them on the list. IRGC's terrorists, UK put them on the list. IRGC's terrorists, UK put them on the list. Thank you, my friends. I think it's important for us to show support for those who support us wholeheartedly, and to show opposition to those who show opposition to us wholeheartedly. We do not oppose those who are neutral to us. It's perfectly fine. We do not persecute. We do not guilt trip. We do not browbeat people who do not speak up for Ukraine. It's a choice that every single person should make for themselves. However, our act here, our action is different. We do not browbeat people, but we inform people why putting Russia down for good is the best case scenario for absolutely everyone, with no exception, on this whole planet. If Russia is out, then a vast amount of the problems this world has will simply disappear, my friends. For Russia pours endless resources into misinformation. Russia pours endless resources into destabilizing their enemies, this country included. Let's not forget about the myriad of occasions where the Russians have funded arson attempts here in this country, here in the United Kingdom. Kidnapping attempts of British citizens and people under British protection. Assassinations of British citizens and people under British protection. And Britain is not the only country that has been finding itself the victim of Russian aggression. In Germany, they tried to assassinate the CEO of Rheinmetall, one of their biggest weapons manufacturers. My friends, this is not a war exclusively between Ukraine and Russia. It's in everybody's interest to put Russia down for good, for Russia has done much harm against this country as well. Just not as much and not as visible as they have done against Ukraine. That, my friends, is our message here. That is what we are here to say. Now, my friends, there's a lot to say always. However, I'm afraid we will have to bring our rally to an end. Thank you all very much for coming here today. Our rallies happen here at 10 Downing Street on Wednesdays at 6 and on Sundays at 3 o'clock. They last for about 2 hours every single time here at 10 Downing Street. So please come and show support. Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава!
Слава нації!
Смерть ворогам!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Героям України тричі!
Слава! Слава! Слава!
Ворогам України тричі!
Смерть! Смерть! Смерть!
And now, my friends, we're going to end this rally as we started it with the Ukrainian anthem.
Ні слава, ні воля, ще нам, браття українці, усміхнеться доля. Зинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці. Запануємо ми, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душі тіла ми положим за нашу свободу.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Слава нації!
Смерть ворогам!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Україна!
Понад усе!
Героям України тричі!
Слава! Слава!
Ворогам України тричі!
Смерть! Смерть! Смерть!
Just one last little bit before we go, my friends. We did a little petition, a little questioning in Vitalik's stream a while ago about is Usyk Ukrainian or Russian? And most of the pro-Russians have voted that he is Russian. I mean, I think that says everything you need to know about Russia at this point, about your average Russia supporter. They do not live in reality, so it's completely pointless to try discussing reality and negotiating the future with them. For they do not know what you are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paulo. Thank you, Paulo. Well done.